But so this would be a great intro to this video, by the way, right? Just Attack of the Dildo Man. But yeah, dude, it was just the way how we had zero indication he was going to go that route, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Did y'all see the dildos?" And I'm like, I've never spoken to anybody who was like, "Hey, before you go,
We're live, fellas. We're live.
Cozy, I can't hear you.
Yeah, right.
Your microphone's again. Starting off good.
I will tell you, for the first time, everything was working appropriately as soon as I started. Like, the audio's good.
That's a good start.
The sound is good in my ears. Yeah, let me turn my headphones
Good start
up.
to the year. It's good to see you fellas. It's literally been, it's almost a year since we did one of these. So it's been
I think so. You know, it's interesting. It's interesting. I was at a basketball game for one of my kids, and somebody walked up to me and was like, are you on a podcast? Like, are you on a tech podcast? I saw your podcast. And it's random because I stay in a small city in Georgia, right? Like outside of Atlanta. And so it was super random. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, is it tech? And then so we sat there and talked about 30 minutes, but his son goes to my kid's school, but he doesn't play basketball, but it was super random.
The chances of someone finding you from our podcast,
dude, podcast, yeah,
seriously, versus a YouTube channel.
I know. We've got tens of people that watch this.
All my son's friends call me Techful Goodies. I'm not their dad. I'm Techful Goodies. So
I like it.
That's my fan base. That's my fan base right there.
Well, it's good to see you, fellas, man. It's what's everyone been up to? Because we haven't really looped anyone in who follows the channel on what everyone else is doing. So what have y'all been up to?
Go ahead, Carl. You start us off because you post.
Carl,
I think you post the most, man. Almost.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, with the growth of the channel, I mean, things are kind of moving along here. I'm at 16K, which is nice. I mean, Corey, you just hit 20, which is awesome.
Right. It's crazy.
That's wild.
And so I feel like it's been, I don't know, it's especially with the end of the year with Christmas and Thanksgiving and Black Friday and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm getting inundated with requests to do reviews and stuff, and I just can't, I can't keep up with it, you know? So I'm constantly have to tell people no. And so, but I did do a lot of videos at the end of the year, had to kind of crank them out and get them going because I went on a cruise in Thanksgiving and then went down to Arizona with my family for Christmas. So that was fun. But as far as like, since we've talked, just been kind of working at my normal job and then also just videos and stuff and keeping up with you guys. And it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. It's been a different experience once I'm not so, you know, when you start out your channel for the first time, you start kind of get wrapped up in, I've got to grow fast. And, you know, I'm starting to learn that YouTube has kind of a throttling algorithm where the longer your channel's around, they leak a little bit more to you. Some of, you know, a lot of my videos are starting to get, you know, a certain amount of views, which I never got before. So that's nice. So, you know, just been sort of focusing on that and trying out new stuff and checking out new tech and stuff like that. But, you know, nothing huge.
Yeah, you're right, though, because it's like I used to be like, oh, you know, awesome. It got 100 views, you know, this week or something. And now it's like, damn, it didn't get 100 views in the first 30 minutes. Like, what's going on?
Right.
So it's weird how that mindset starts to change.
Yeah, I would say for me, you know, last year, like I think I went through a period of burnout, to be honest, because at one point I was doing like 2 to 3 videos a week. And somewhere around like March and April, May, I was heavy basketball because you all know I coach basketball too. And so I was traveling a lot for basketball and I was coming back and I was under the weather for a while, right? So like I had lost my voice and I wasn't able to kind of make videos. And when I came out of that, like I didn't have the urge to like make videos right after that. I was just like, man, listen, I'm tired. I'm, you know, exhausted a little bit. And so I kind of paused for a little while and slowed down. I think I only put out, I think when I looked at it, Corey, it said it was 57 videos or something like that last year, which was crazy because the year before it was, again, like 2 to 3 a week. So I was well over 100 something videos easy. And then last week, but as the year, you know, kind of progressed and we got into the holidays, you know, the energy picked it back up, especially when you came to like Tech November and, you know, and all of that. And then moving into Christmas with the Christmas sales, like you get all the outreach and, you know, all the brands are reaching out to you, asking you to do videos and stuff like that. And then I started Flip last year too, which around June or July. And that kind of like scratched the itch for me because it was only like 45-second to a minute and a half videos, right? And so I was still producing content, just not on YouTube. And so like my finances kind of went up from Flip because, you know, you can get a decent amount of money on that per month. And so I was able to upgrade cameras and stuff like that. And so by the end of the year, I got back into it. And then we'll talk about it in a second. But after CES, like my energy is kind of like through the roof now. And I'm ready to, you know, jump on a 2025 and, you know, and embrace it for sure.
Flip's actually kind of a problem as a creator because it gives you those quick dopamine hits of income and products and stuff. And it makes creating long form content really feel a lot more arduous. And so when I first started experiencing success from Flip, I found it hard to do YouTube. I really did. But I've now found a happy medium because like for my year last year, I definitely hit burnout bad. I mean, there was like I was completely drained from wanting to do anything content related. It was not fun. And I got out 48 videos in 2024. And so like this year, I just want to try to hit one a week. I'd love to hit 2 a week, but 1 a week is my goal for the whole year. So 52, just 4 more videos than I did last year. But as y'all know, I ran for my local town city council. Politics is completely soul draining. And I thought like I have the chance to run again this year. And I decided, you know what, if I'm going to put that much time and effort and my soul into something, I want it to actually provide dividends. Because like the moment you put politician next to your name, people just go out of their way to attack you, and all of a sudden you're not a person anymore. So I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to put this much work into something, I want it to be something that I actually enjoy and actually has a future opportunity. And so I lost the election, and then CES hit, and it's like a complete 180. It's like I completely cleansed myself of all the, I guess, bad juju from last year. Because right now I'm like, let's go, like let's do this, and that's why we have the podcast up and running. We drug Carl out of his cave. Like we're here now. Like we're gonna get rolling and start chatting again. And I'm really excited to hang out with you guys again. It's been fun.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm going to do this year actually is slow down a little bit, which is a little bit opposite of what you guys are doing, because I don't want to get burned out. You know, I started to feel that at the end of the year when I had to crank out those videos. So I think one of the things that's really sort of been popular on my channel is the tech hauls. So I'm going to kind of do those more often, maybe do that like monthly, and then pepper in a couple of like I tell people all the time when I do my videos, I'm trying to find unique stuff. Like, you know, now that I have a lot more opportunities, try to find the things that are unique and a little bit different so that people, you know, when they look at it, they think, man, I've always wondered what that's like. And they can kind of watch a video of me trying it out too.
Funny you say that, because Cozy and I had that exact conversation recently, because like I tried to get away from the Temu videos because they were very successful and they started dominating my channel. And I was like, I don't want to get niched into just cheap like crap unboxings. It's not always crap, but you know what I mean, where it's like I want actual quality stuff on the channel. But then I had this realization all of a sudden that Temu allows me access financially to buy the things in review that I want to review. And so I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and lean into it. So that's what I did this last year, was I just started like, you know what, let's do Temu, and then whatever else I want to review, I'll review. And I've really found that not only has that helped me feel like I'm becoming more successful with the channel, but it's also like now I'm starting to develop my niches: content creation gear, handheld gaming, big unboxings. Those are like kind of the 3 areas that I'm starting to focus. And I've found that there's an audience outside of just Temu that's growing on my channel. So it's actually benefited really well.
Yeah, I noticed with the handheld gaming, you guys had a lot of stuff at CES that you took a look at. It looked like it's just blowing up. And I the hard part about, and like I like the fact that you cover that stuff, Corey, is that I don't like that form factor. That's not for me, right? I'd rather have a laptop with a controller. I'm fine with that. But it's so sexy. Like those little devices are so nice that it's like, I just want one. Wow. You know, I bought the little handheld ones that play all the old school
emulators. Yeah.
And I don't use it just because I'm not a big fan of that, you know, form factor.
It's grown on me quite a bit. There's one thing you would love, Carl. Cozy and I, you know, we went together to CES, obviously, and we were in this one room. It was the AMD room where Lenovo had some of their products, and they have this gaming tablet that is more powerful than your Xbox, because like, you know how AI is big right now? Well, now they have AI that is working in place of basically RAM. Like it's taking the place of RAM. So the amount of graphical output that it can have in such a small form factor, it was like the size of an iPad playing, like, it was like what's the latest Horizon Zero Dawn game? Whatever it was. It was like max settings. I actually have video of Cozy actually playing it. Zero lag, zero
bro,
it was immaculate, beautiful, right? And
bro.
it was like a full gaming rig in a laptop that you hook a controller to. So I'm like, okay, handheld gaming's dead now. It's like just starting to blow up.
Literally, it was the ROG Z Flow 13, and it's the 2025 edition. So
you and model numbers.
He's awesome at it.
So they released their first version in 2023, right? And it was Innovation Award during that time frame. But what he's saying, man, is completely accurate. So I took my Rogue Ally, I took a mobile screen, my UPerfect screen, and I took Mamba computer gaming controller, the one that you reviewed. And so we took that as like, to CES and, to sit in the room with, when we got back to game. And this little tablet, a 13-inch tablet, just a little bit larger than an iPad Pro, was sitting there with a built-in stand, and they had just a Xbox controller plugged into it, and it ran Horizon Zero Dawn West completely perfect, like no stuttering, no lag, no anything. It was the same, and he said it was like when he was giving us the spiel. He's a really cool guy, and he was like, "It's just as strong as an Xbox."
Yeah,
and I was thinking to myself, "Hell, there's no way.
Right.
Hell no, there's no way." Because when it comes to a tablet, especially on a AAA game or any gaming handheld, there's always some type of lag. You're forced to play at 1080p, 1080p 30 or 60 frames per second. They usually lock those, right? And I felt like it was, I don't know if it was 4K, but it was 1440p minimum, and it ran perfectly.
I'm pretty sure it was 4K. It was gorgeous.
Me too. I'm like, listen, and they said they go up to 128 gigabytes of what was it, LDP DDR5 RAM.
Yeah, but it's all AI generated somehow.
Right,
so it was So anyways, long story short, Carl, like if for the type of mobile gaming, because a lot of people will take like a handheld gaming console, treat it as a little mini gaming laptop, hook an external monitor up, just like Cozy was saying, and this takes away the need for that. So then you bring a tablet and a controller, and this thing's easily powerful to do anything you would need to do work related. So I'm really pumped to see what's going to happen this year in gaming, and especially what it's positioning 2026 to be like. But what I found interesting is a lot of times you would expect their floor models to be like 100% perfect, even if that's not the final product. Like they're going to work on the floor. That wasn't the case at CES. There were a lot of like test models of stuff that was either released or about to be released that just was not functional. It was still working, but not, it didn't make you excited about it because you're like, oh, this thing's still a piece of crap, right? Why is it not working? This was the complete opposite of that. I've never seen anything like this.
Agreed.
And we had just got done. Go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was going to say, what operating system does that tablet?
It was on Windows.
It was on Windows. Oh, that's nice. That's cool.
Yeah, dude. Windows 11 this year, it's like
it's everywhere.
Except for the new Legion Go's, which are now they have the Windows operating systems, and now they're coming out with SteamOS operating systems, which are really, really awesome. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the SteamOS operating system, and I think they just recently allowed you to be able to download it and put it on different stuff too, so it doesn't have to just be the handhelds that you buy. You can actually create your own system.
Oh, that's kind of sweet. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're starting to make it to where like everybody can start accessing it. If they put SteamOS on the Switch 2, that console will blow records.
I want Game Pass on that thing, man.
Dude, well, here's what's funny about that. They talked about that.
I want Game Pass on. I want it, bro.
As recent as last year, they talked about putting Game Pass on the Switch. I think it's going to happen, man. It might come with Game Pass.
Microsoft tried to purchase them for that particular reason because they need a handheld for a Game Pass. And I'm a broken record when it comes to Game Pass, man, but I get so much out of it. You know what I mean? Like I game on it all the time. And so if they were able to throw Game Pass on the Switch too, because my current Switch, I use it from time to time.
Yeah.
Right. And it's only like when I want to play with the kids, like we want to play Mario and we give the controllers out and I'm the hat and, the other one's Mario, like stuff like that. Or we play Mario Kart and things like that. But like, I don't touch my Switch outside of that because most of the time, me, I'm a pixel peeper. So the games I play are in like higher definition, and so I just don't play my Switch very often at all. Got a really nice setup for it, but just don't touch it. But Game Pass would switch that. You know, it's super small. It's light, bigger this time. So
especially with like the Switch 2 specs that look good with Hall effect joysticks and like actual like a sizable like Carl. One thing I don't know if you know this, but we were on day 3 of CES. I was hunting for this booth called Genki. They're a Switch accessory company, and I was looking everywhere for them. I talked to Russ from Retro Game Core, a much larger channel than we have, and he was like, "You got to check out Genki." But Genki had like moved booths halfway through CES, and it was like a 2-day hunt trying to find these dudes. And I finally found
talking
them.
about how big it was.
Yeah, and when I finally found Genki at the Indiegogo booth at the convention center, and they had prototype Switch 2 Joy-Cons, and this was a couple days before anything had been like Nintendo hadn't said anything, but they actually had 3D modeling for accessories and Switch 2 Joy-Cons that were 3D printed that I could hold, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Now it doesn't compare to oh my god, which one? There's so many gaming handhelds now. Which one has its own Joy-Cons? It's not the Legion. It's the
it's the MS.
No, it's not. It is the Legion Go. It's the Legion Go that has the removable Joy-Cons. It's not that big, but like the new Joy-Cons are sizable.
The One X Player too.
Well, that one also has them, but they don't work out when disconnected from the device.
Oh, the One X Player. I thought you could put it on the little controller.
You can, but the Legion Go series, they actually work
separate
independently. Yeah, like a Joy-Con does.
Gotcha.
But the new Joy-Cons are going to be nice. And so this Switch 2, we were talking about this that whole time. Like, you can't call it the Switch 2 if it's not a Switch. So what is Nintendo going to do? Are they going to, for the first time ever, not change their because they usually completely revamp their system. But if you want the Switch 2, you can't do that, and it looks like they're going to keep it the Switch 2, which it's a bummer to see that creation go away a little bit, and they're not bringing something unique to the market. But at the same time, a Switch 2 is going to dominate, dude. This thing is going to, as long as they don't overprice it, this thing's going to blow up.
Agreed.
And is it, so I didn't look too much into the Switch 2 stuff. Is it still, they just have their own games that you can play on there? You can't play anything else?
All they did was release the body. So we don't know specs. We don't know internals. Honestly, I'm not even convinced that it's going to come with OLED starting out. I think it's still going to be an LCD screen.
Be an upgrade. Yeah, for sure. That's going to be a second S model or something like that. But to your point or question, Carl, I believe that Nintendo is a very underrated ecosystem as far as like longevity and IPs. Like, I feel like they have a very large, list of IPs that have only been like in the Nintendo world like for a long time, right? And recently they started getting third parties like, making Nintendo Switch versions of their games, like, Skyrim, different stuff like that. That's not as powerful as like the other consoles, but you still get a chance to kind of delve into those games. But Switch, I think Nintendo, I think is very, very underrated as far as like their IPs that have lasted. I mean, I'm talking about, I played Nintendo as a child. I'm 40 something years old now. You know what I mean? And some of those genres, those IPs. I don't look it though. You know what I'm saying? But
dude, I turned 50 last year. I turned 50 last year, bro.
Did you?
Did you really?
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Carl, you look every second.
I know. Actually,
no, he does
I don't look anything past 60. So.
But yeah. The problem with Nintendo, and you know what really exposed it for a lot of people, is there's a game called Pal World on Steam. That Pal World is essentially, I'm not going to call it a Pokemon knockoff because it really takes the Pokemon model and makes it better. It's a survival crafting. It is Pokemon basically, but it gives you everything you wanted from Pokemon that Nintendo would never give you. And Nintendo's first kind of step into that realm was like Pokemon Arceus, where you could run around and actually throw Pokeballs at, and that came out like a few years ago, right? So it's always been the same, just rinse and repeat model with updated graphics and a couple of new monsters. But that's what I've really gotten tired of with Nintendo, is like they just make something just incrementally better and expect everyone just to buy it out. And people do. The Nintendo fan base is gigantic.
I was going to say, and to think about their fan base, though, Nintendo is like Disney. Their fan base is the youth, right? And so, like, they make games that are just interesting enough that an adult may play it, but not too complicated that a child can't succeed at it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I automatically can hand my Switch to my kids without even thinking about it. Now, I got some kids that are super advanced at gaming, but at first, my younger one, a Ty and a Pie, I was able to give them my Switch and they could just figure it out on their own. And then they graduated over to like the Meta and now they're playing like Minecraft and PC games, and then they graduated to PlayStation, type games. But they started with the Switch, and I didn't have to explain it. I didn't have to play it with them.
Yeah.
It's 3 or 4 actions, jump, throw the hat, type stuff. And so that's one thing I like about Nintendo is that they're consistent in their build. And that's also why, me personally, I don't play it much. But I do know that, for that particular group of people that like that simplicity, that after work for a couple hours or buying it for an aging parent or something like that, like you can just hand it to them without having to explain complicated systems.
And this is why SteamOS is going to blow up, because it's that same simplistic design where basically you just turn it on and it's super fast. You have your game selection, you choose it, you start playing. That's why it's dominant over a Windows 11. Like the Windows versions of like the Legion Go's are more expensive by $100 than their SteamOS counterpart, because it has more functionality and more customization, because you actually have an operating system on there. But like, I don't want that. I'm buying a gaming handheld to handheld games. So it's like, I just want to play it and get into it. And I want it to be strong enough to handle anything that I have. Like Black Myth Wukong, like we played some of them. Like that was the game at CES that everybody was testing with. And I got to say, I understand why, because I bought it at home. My 2080 Ti graphics card is struggling to play this game. I threw my controller for the first time in a couple years last night because I'm playing Black Myth Wukong. And here's the thing. I'm playing it on 1270 by 720, okay? Like it's not even pretty. I'm just trying to dodge. And I'm getting so pissed off because it's like it freezes every randomly, like every 10 to 15 seconds. And if you don't know anything about Black Myth Wukong, it is boss fight after boss fight after boss. There is nothing in between these sons of bitches. And excuse my language, but like I was getting so heated last night trying to play these bosses. And it's already hard enough when your computer's not freezing on you. So it's like,
right.
I ended up getting a little mad last night, but that kind of leads me to the next thing I'm really excited about is Nvidia's unveiling of the new 50 series graphics cards.
I have some thoughts on that too.
We do too. Go ahead, Carl. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Carl. Let me hear it.
No, I'm getting, the one thing that frustrates me is they put out these new cards and you're talking about $1,000, right? To put something like that in your machine for any of the ones that are
not the new ones,
lowest level. And then they tell you, okay, here's your frame rate, or here's our comparisons to like the 4090. And they're using frame gen. You guys familiar with what frame gen is?
No.
So let's say you're playing a game at 30 frames per second. They'll use AI to generate in between frames. So in between frame 1 and frame 2 that are rendered, they will render a subframe in between that, blending those two together. And then they'll tell you you're getting 60 frames per second, or so they're doing 4 times, frame gen. So if they're saying you're getting 200 frames per second, what are you really getting, behind the scenes? And then they're just upscaling with frame scaling.
Right.
So it frustrates me because I still have like a 3060, like 12 megs of VRAM, 12 gigs of VRAM, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that card. It's run great. My kids have them, and I have no issues with it. So, am I trying to rush to go get a 5 series NVIDIA card? Do I start doing some, other types of, graphics cards like the Intel one that just came out or something like that, So it frustrates me that they're just blasting these things out to the market every year, but they're kind of like faking some of the stuff behind the scenes. I don't know. Go ahead.
I got you. Like kind of like simulated upgrades, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that, and these are heavily AI compatible, right? Like they are, at least the ones that are in the laptop for sure, because they are extremely tiny. The ones that they're putting inside their laptops, but but I was looking at the 5070 starts at $550, which is finally an affordable price for a mega powerful graphics card, because it has the same power as a 4090 based on, and like what you were saying, now I'd like to look more into it before I start getting too excited. But coming from a 2080 Ti, it should be an upgrade no matter
everything's
what.
Gonna be
absolutely.
But Cozy and I were also talking, because we weren't at the actual unveiling of those, but we were in Vegas whenever they did that. And we were like, wait a minute, are they pricing those so cheap to catch attention? Because then the tariffs are going to spike the prices. And you know what I mean? So it's like those are not the actual finite prices, because they're just trying to generate hype. I think the tariffs are going to shoot those prices up. And so, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be as obtainable as we originally thought. Even though I still am going to upgrade, I need it.
Mm-hmm. When are the tariffs supposed to be in effect?
I don't know. I mean, inauguration's tomorrow, I think, and so I don't know
No, it's today.
Today.
Oh
Today,
yeah,
the
right. It's
20th,
Monday.
today,
It's Monday. I forgot.
I hope they're delayed and they have to bite the bullet on pricing depending on when they release them. Because I felt like that a lot of times at CES when they were announcing kind of pricing and things like that they were undercutting it, right? So that when the tariffs impact, then they can justify the prices being raised to like the standard. Because to Carl's point, like I think I bought my 3090 and I'm still on my 3090 for right at $2,000 when it first released. I have the Rogue, Rogue version, OC, 16 gigabytes of VRAM, et cetera, et cetera. And that one was $18.99 or something like that when it released. And the prices that they were sharing for these, I was like, there's no way that they're gonna just all of a sudden, increase, the power and all of that. And they're larger, so it's more cost to build, right? And then they're gonna go down in price like that. So I agree. I think it's gonna be they're expecting the tariffs to raise that, but the size of those things, though, man,
dude, some of them were like huge.
Like they were wild how big they are. Like,
well, and what I didn't realize until we were inside of MSI's room is because they had a bunch of crazy cool pre-builds, but they had 20 different graphics card that were all the 5 series, because it was like different versions of the 5070 through 5090, and I didn't realize there were that many versions of the new series that come out all at once. And so it was a little overwhelming to know like which one of these would I even purchase. I don't know enough personally. Carl, you might, but like for me, it was very overwhelming.
Well, yeah, I tend to. There's some calculators online that you can take a look at, or comparison tools that you can take a look at. That you can put. I have a 20, whatever you have, and you can say I'm looking at this, or if I had a 4090, and this, which one would be faster? But what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing is that VRAM is going to be a huge thing coming up. A lot of these. That's another disappointment. I thought that I had heard about the 50 series is that they're putting 6 or 8 gigs of VRAM in there, and maybe that's just the base models or something like that. But look at that, keep that in mind when you're looking for what you're going to purchase.
Can you explain why that's a bad thing?
It's so VRAM is when it comes to like all the textures and caching and the shaders and stuff like that. So it's going to load that into memory and keep it there, so you're not pulling it from your hard drive over and over and over. Because they do a shader cache when you start a game for the first time, and they put that to your disk.
Yep.
And then they'll load all that stuff into memory. And so if it's there, you're going to get a lot faster access to that stuff. And other stuff goes in there too. So having a higher sort of VRAM count, I think, is going to be something that is important coming up. So just keep that in mind, and don't get I think that's one of the issues with some of the laptop GPUs is that they have lower VRAM amounts. So you end up not getting a lot, and a lot of them in those laptops you were talking about, they'll end up thermal throttling because they don't have enough cooling. So you end up having to get I did a review of one of those laptop coolers that sort of sucks the air out of the bottom and blows it into there and tries to keep it cool so you're not thermal throttling on either your CPU or your GPU.
Well, what's interesting is I think some of the new AI GPUs are kind of mimicking Apple Silicon, where they don't really need the fans the same. Because if you look at like the MacBook Airs, they don't have fans at all because they don't generate enough heat, even though they're outputting a ton of power because of the efficiency of the chips. And I don't understand how that works. But I'm thinking back to that AI GPU tablet that we were playing with. Like that thing did not have room for fans. It was so ultra thin. But that was a model that is on all day for testing, ready to go. It wasn't hot, and it was outputting major graphics. And so I don't understand it enough to know how that's going to change the market if they don't need the same type of fan. But at the MSI booth, these graphics card had freaking industrial fans attached to them. So
there's an interesting thing to that APU that it was. I think he said it was an AMD 383 APU-I or something or APU Plus or something like that. It was in 3 different bodies at CES in that AMD room. It was across from there was a workstation that was designed for coding, large language models, designing. And so it was basically another workstation with the exact same, chip in that tablet. in the workstation that was designed for hardcore, IT consultants to build out websites, build out products, they even had on a third setup all the way off to the left, and we got some footage of that. They had it where you could create your own AI model that would communicate with you. You could design the face and all of these different things using that same chip. And so that same chip that was in that 13-inch tablet was in the workstation and over in the desktop that was building out the AI model. And so I'm extremely excited to see, like, as this year progresses, like what that chip is, how it works, and get some, third-party folks get their hands on it and be able to explain it to us, kind of what it is. Because that in itself it's mind-blowing if you think about it, how far we've come in just 2 years. And, going back to Corey, I got the MacBook Pro M3, and I've never heard the fans turn on. And I pretty much use it all day, every day. And I go straight from work into editing, into content, into whatever. And I've never heard those fans turn on. I don't even know if there's fans on it, to be honest. And I have the, largest one that you can have, the M3 Max.
Yeah, the AI character generation was cool, and it'd be great because Carl could finally have a friend. So
I could probably finally have something that looks good on camera rather than myself.
I think you look great on camera. Cozy, I think we should probably take some time to talk about an interesting event that we had happen to us.
Oh my God! Here you go. Oh my God!
He's got to know.
First of all, go ahead, man.
So, Carl,
look, I'm gonna cut you off one more time. This has something to do with every time we went through security. But go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll explain that. That's kind of related, but we'll explain that afterwards. So, anyways, we were walking through one of the rooms, Carl, and like when you walk into one of these rooms, whether it's the Venetian or the Convention Center, it's like 4 or 5 football fields. One room is full of vendors, right? So we're walking through this one room, and we start talking to this guy, and really they specialize in like these really cool looking hearing aids, and then they had these really neat earbuds that they let us test out, which just kind of clip around, and the glasses, right? And they clip around your ear on the side, so they look cool, they're unique. And we got to talk to the designer guy who was there, and his English was decent enough, so where you're like, that you're not losing things through through a language barrier. So we talked to him it was actually kind of a long conversation because we were like ready to go, and Cozy just would not stop hanging out with this dude, right? And so but we had a great conversation. We're talking about all kinds of these tech things. He wants to send stuff out for review, and finally we kind of about 30 minutes later, which was a long conversation at CES, 30 minutes later, we're like, okay, we're gonna move on to the next thing. And as we're kind of starting to exit the booth, this dude just pops off with, "Hey, have y'all seen the dildos yet?" And we were like, wait, like we both Corey.
He looked Corey right in the eye.
Yeah, no, he was talking to Cozy the whole time. Well, so it was just like, wait, is there a language barrier? Like, what was this? And he's like, yeah, this booth over here, they've got like dildos and vibrators and stuff. And like, I look up, and Cozy's in an all-out sprint. Just
yeah, oh my God.
And I'm like, hey, come back. No,
the most modest out of the three. Go ahead.
No, but Cozy and I are looking at each other because we thought we misheard. And no, this dude is serious. And the way he swerved left on us, we were talking about, hey, we can't wait to review your stuff, send it out. And he's like, by the way, have you guys seen the dildos? And we're like, wait, what?
It was neck breaking.
He said every time he goes to the bathroom, because this place is so big, he gets lost on the way back. And the only way he can find it is by this booth that has these dildos and vibrators, and he's explaining all of their products. And he's like, yeah, every time I go by, he's like, I've got so many free samples of no, don't zoom in on me right now.
Coming in.
Don't zoom in on me right now.
Coming in close.
But he said every time he swings by the booth to find his way back to his booth, he has to get a free sample because they keep handing it out. So he has a ton of free samples of lube in his backpack because they keep giving it to him.
No diddy.
And we're just like, can we get out of here? Like, we didn't ask for this conversation. And you can see the doors from his booth. This dude's not getting lost. Right?
Right.
He knows where his booth
is.
There. And so naturally we swung by the booth to check it out. And it was actually kind of cool because
Naturally.
Well, he was hyping it up so much. I was like, we got to at least look.
You had to go by.
I mean, it's electronics, right? You guys are going to have to do some reviews.
And here's the thing. I'm not bashful. I'm going to take a look at it. Cozy's like, oh, I got to go check out these electric bikes first. I don't want to see that. Before you know it, this dude's right on my shoulder filming too.
I couldn't let him go by himself. But the reason is, tell him about the little what was it called?
The gaming one?
Yeah.
So they have this vibrating thing that I think it's probably meant for women, but you could probably get it too, Carl. So you sit on it and it connects to your gaming PC or your like Xbox or PS5 or whatever, and you play with a normal controller. And this guy was playing Rocket League, and it was vibrating, reacting to his game. So as he would hit the ball, it would vibrate really loud. So whatever game you're playing, it's like an extra immersive experience. So I'm actually going to feature that booth in my upcoming like weird tech that I found at CES.
Oh, so your OnlyFans? On your OnlyFans?
That too. It'll curl your toes.
But you know, I'm a stickler for details. But they said it was designed for when you want to game and your wife or partner won't let you, basically. So you give it to your partner to wear when you're gaming, so that they feel like you're still spending time with them. The longer you play the game, the more intense the vibration comes. So no pun intended.
Right. This would be a great intro to this video, by the way. Right. Just attack of the dildo, man. But yeah, dude, it was just the way how we had zero indication he was going to go that route. And then all of a sudden he's like, did y'all see the dildos? And I'm like, I've never spoken to anybody who was like hey, before you go.
Yeah, it was a pause moment. It was like, because the glasses were sweet. So like the glasses had, when you look through the glasses, they would give you directions and stuff on the glasses. So like if you were asking questions, say for instance you were on Google, you would see it in front of your eyes on the glasses. And that's what made me stop at the booth. I was like, what are these? Yeah. Because you could see the little things going. And then they're small, like regular size, like the ones that Corey have on. Regular size glasses. They had embedded in them. On that, They had embedded within them microphones and you know, speakers for hearing and stuff like that. And then they had the little displays. And I was like, holy crap, like that's Minority Report, right? So I stopped and we talked about that, you know, there was another version that's out now. These were the ones that were potentially going to come out in the future. And then we talked about the, you know, hearing aids and stuff like that, because audio is my jam, as you all know. And then like right before, like you said, he was looking at Corey like dead in the eye. He was looking right at Corey. Just like this, and he was like, "Have you seen?" He was like, "Have you seen it?" And he was like, kind of did one of these at the last second. And I looked over at Corey, and Corey was looking at him like this.
Whatever.
And I was like, "Man, this is
whatever, bro." I looked at you like, "What? What did he just say?"
And I kind of leaned in like,
"Yeah,
Coach heard him right." Or like we
heard him real close to him, right? Like he's like, "What did you say?
Right,
say it again."
What I did, because some of y'all don't know, Corey's 6'10". I kind of like slid behind his left shoulder, you know,
protect me
into safety. Like what we doing here, you know? But it you know, at the end of the day, like that was wild.
It was an interesting one, but it was funny because most of the time, like we Cozy was like a duckling, just following, because these people just we tried him leading.
Listen. When Corey's walking through a crowd at 6'10" versus me walking through at 6'1", like I'm like, excuse me, Corey just walks and people just move. And so like I went back to football days. I just followed him. I got on his right hip and just I got on his right hip and I was just walking casually with no barrier. Just
you know? Carl, that reminds me, Carl. You know that smart bird feeder that you reviewed? So that company was there. They have smart hummingbird feeders. They have smart like bird baths and stuff with the cameras. And I wanted to talk to them because when you're there with a media badge, they want to talk to you and show their product. Because there's
you guys had media badges.
Yeah. So not only do
cool.
you get in for free, but also like there's 140,000 plus people there. But when they see the green media tag, they're like, oh yeah, let's show you our product. Here's extra samples that they bring out from the back. Like they really get excited to talk with you because they want you to cover their product. And so I was like, man, maybe I can partner with that smart bird bath place because I really love to have that. And so I'm walking around because you have your cameras on, and they know when you're media. They're I'm assuming told to go after them, because we had some people aggressively come up and say, "Oh, are you media? Can we check out your channel?" Which we'll talk about, Cozy, you changing your channel name here in a second, because it has to do with that. But I went to the bird bath place or the bird feeder place, and I was like, man, maybe they'll want to partner and send something to me, and no one would approach me. And I was like, where's I was like walking around with the camera, like, I guess they don't want to talk or anything, because there was no one to talk to. And when I left, Cozy said that there was one of the little salespeople there, and he was he was
little. He was scared of you.
He was he was.
He was small. He was intimidated. He kept he kept going like
he wanted to talk,
like he wanted to talk, and like Corey would like turn his shoulder, and then he would be like, and then Corey would like lean over to touch something, and he would start to like walk in, and then Corey would like kind of shift again, and he would be like,
who knows how many brand deals I missed because of that.
Seriously.
Oh yeah.
Seriously.
I was going to ask you guys, is that the first large scale convention of that type you've been to?
For the channels or in general?
Just in general.
Well, I've been to conventions. This is the largest just conference in North America. So I've never been to anything this scale, because there were 7 locations. We went to 2. And
that's crazy.
And Carl, let me tell you, man, it's like day one. Next year we're going to approach it very differently, because day one was kind of a wash, because we were just like information overload. Where do we go? What do we do? And this is kind of a crazy timing thing. The only reason we had some idea of what to do is because I reached out to Russ from Retro Game Core. He has an awesome channel of reviewing mainly like gaming handheld stuff. He has like over 600,000 subs, so much larger channel. I had some questions, just some learning questions about how to grow my channel. And I said, hey, are you going to be at CES? He said, yes. And so we walk into the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is 3.2 million square feet, right? And so we're walking into the central hall with booths that are like full, like city blocks is one company, like Panasonic. And so we're walking in, and we're like, when you're media, you get the first hour just media before everyone else gets to get in. So we were in there, and there wasn't a lot of, hey, I'm talking, Carl. That's rude.
Yeah, I can't believe you did that.
I put my watch on Do Not Disturb, and it still decides it's going to tell me the time whenever it feels like it. Anyway,
that's a random time too.
But anyways, we walk in within 10 minutes of our first day of being inside this massive booth. Like Cozy and I are like looking around, like we just kind of stopped to kind of think about, okay, what do we do now? Like, this is so much. And I hear this guy behind me go, hey, you Corey? And I turn around, and it's Russ from Retro Game Core. And I'm like, what are the freaking chances that this dude just happened to be right there?
Yes.
Yeah. And so we talked to him for like 20 minutes, and it was really great, because he's just a genuinely good dude. He gave us some great information. And the main thing he said was, when you have a green tag and you are media, you're kind of the rock stars here, because they really want to talk to you. And like that kind of gave us some direction. And he told us about some vendors like Genki to check out and stuff. So, but it was, I forgot why I even started diving into that story, but it was just the astronomical chance of meeting this guy. And to your question about the size of this event, like, I didn't realize it at the time how crazy the odds of that were, because this is the largest thing, like, event ever. I mean, it is just incredible how many people are there. And like, just under the convention center, they have these things called Tesla tunnels, where all it is 40 feet below the surface, instead of like a subway, they just have these little hamster tunnels with people driving Teslas back and forth for free, so you can get from one end of the convention center to the other constantly all day. And so
that was freaking sweet.
Yeah,
that was freaking sweet. Yeah, Russ showed up like a NPC guide in Skyrim or something, like,
bro,
just like
straight
at the beginning of the game when they're telling you like what to do and where to go, like. And he was a super cool dude. But
hello, traveler.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally, we walked around the corner, and like we were just like, dude, this is massive.
He was like, take this before you go.
Yeah, right. He gave us like 6 points of interest. Like, go to the go down to the South Tunnel and blah blah blah, South Conference room. But it's massive, man. One of the things that we talked about, when we came back, was that you have to approach it completely different. Like, next year I did a video like 5 things I wish I would have known. And first and foremost is that you cannot be warned about how large it is to begin with. Like, it doesn't matter how large somebody says it is, until you actually get there, you really don't understand it. Because it's 7 locations, we only saw 2 locations. There was 5 other locations that were probably the same size as the places that we were in. And so before going next year, I want to like do a list of brands that I absolutely have to see and want to see.
Map it out.
And map it out and try to get them all in the same area. Like, the South Hall has this particular group of brands, the North Hall, this particular, the West, boom, 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 Venetian has this, etc. And then attack it that way. Because I've done, from my talent acquisition HR career, like I've been in some large places like GopherCon and, in different places like that for, different technologies that we use and things like that. But nothing ever this massive. Like nothing this matter. To his point, like the TCL booth, the TCL booth was probably like you could walk through it for about 5 minutes. The Hisense booth, another 5 minutes. The Panasonic, which I believe was the largest sponsor for the CES this year, like they literally just sat in the middle of it, and you had to like walk all the way around it to like almost like go into a back alley hallway, of a street to get to other booths, like walking around it. You know what I mean? And so it's super cool to be like there, but it can be overwhelming if you go in without a plan for sure.
What tech did you guys use to capture what you were capturing? Like I know, Corey, I saw your video on that. Yep.
Dude,
and then I also saw a little, Chris, I think you had a little camera right here.
360.
And then I noticed in some of your videos, you had a good like POV type of perspective onto the handheld. So
I'll show you. So this right here, I got a ton of questions about because this is just the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, but I got this 3D printed case for it. And Cozy, how many times we get stopped so people could ask me about this?
Sometimes, like he would have it sitting there while we were like testing,
like recording,
out, and people would come pick it up.
And I'm like they thought it was from the dildo booth.
Well, look, and no coincidence that it's Corey's. But anyway, but like we were at the 1X Player booth and we were talking to, like we were touching the handhelds, and he had the rig that he's about to put on right now. He had it, and he had his cell phone on it.
So that thing. Yeah, I got one of those because you got one, Corey.
So every time. Once we figured out how we wanted to film, I was like, oh, I'm going to do voiceover with some of my testing as like with the gaming handheld. So this right here was like $10 on Temu, and I want a bigger one because it's really close to
it's small. It's like so close. I have the same one.
But this right here, just being able to throw your phone on it and have it hold your phone and film while you're testing stuff. This was actually kind of I didn't bring it the first day of CES, but the next day I was like, this is going with me everywhere. So this, and then I had a GoPro on my shoulder.
Yeah. And they have a newer version of that too on Temu with and I'm sure they have it everywhere else too, but it has a little bracket that allows it to extend a little bit further.
Oh, nice. I'll get that.
And you can rotate it. So I mean, it's still like $9 on there.
Yeah, I have one of those downstairs, Corey. The first time I put it on, I snapped it together before I paid attention to how you get it apart. And because it's here, I couldn't see it, so I'm starting to panic to get this because it won't go over our big ass heads, right? So I'm starting to panic. Finally, I went into the mirror. I'm like, because it's solid, it's not breakable. That thing is on there.
I just imagine like 45 minutes later, Carl's naked and crying, trying to figure out how to get this thing on.
Sweating profusely.
To your point, I didn't know it came apart. So when I first got it, I was like, "Well, this."
I remember his video. He was like, "Can't even get over my head." Like, sat in there, looked like a headband.
Yeah, and then Cozy, you had your setup.
I was upset with my setup. I'm not even gonna lie. Like we talked about it. The thing is, until you've gone to something like that, you don't necessarily know what you need, right?
Yeah,
and so our channels are stationary for the most part, right? Like I do audio, I do gaming peripherals, and I'm starting to do content creation with like microphones and stuff like that. And so now this year, I specifically want to do a lot more content creation stuff around lenses, cameras, different stuff like that, because when you got there, I knew like a couple days before we went, I told him, I was like, dude, I'm kind of irritated. I should have got a wide angle lens. And he was like, what do you have? And I was like, well, I have a 20, but I'm using an APS-C lens. I mean, sensor. So it's going to be a 30 really. And that's probably not big enough. And it's true. It wasn't big enough. Yeah. I should have bought the 11 millimeter. So that way I could get wide and then punch in and post for my camera. But furthermore, no gimbal on a camera gives you really shaky film, regardless of how much stabilization you have. Yeah. And I didn't want to, like, because we're traveling across the country, you don't want to carry all that stuff. Like, you don't want to walk around like I have the Scorp 2 gimbal, which is AI gimbal that's designed for full frame cameras. And it's perfect, but it's like 3 pounds. And just carrying around that light camera with a tripod stand, like a tripod handle, was heavy after 3 hours. So imagine carrying that around with my Scorp 2, which is 3 pounds, put a 2-pound camera on top of it, put a wide angle lens on top of that, put a microphone on it. Like now you're walking around with about 8 pounds in your hand for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And we're walking 15,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so next year, I'm definitely looking into the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And I want to talk about whether or not the 4 is going to come out. I think it may because of the ban that's looming. I think they may push some things out, but we can get to that in a second. But
okay,
I want for next year at least EV10 2 from Sony, the smaller version of what I have. And I want to partner with Hohem because they had this MT2 gimbal that felt like it was lighter than, my
they're sending one out to me.
The MT2?
No, it's not. I think it's actually the M7.
M7. They're sending the M7 out to me too. But I want that MT2. I want the MT2. But so my setup, it looks good, but it was heavy. And it wasn't, even though it's a light camera, like it was, this is too big to be carrying around all day. And this is it's FX30, so it's a freaking fantastic camera.
It's like you're surprised at what makes you realize things are too heavy. Like, Carl, we have big chests, right? And so my backpack straps, the little adjustment knobs are right here. So I have no padding. And over the course of a day, carrying your film gear, it's not that heavy starting out, but it just starts eating into your shoulders. And then 3 days into that, you're like, holy crap. Like, I got, for me, I'm going to get a different backpack next time that has like bigger straps and can carry a little bit more. I still love the Pocket 3. There are so many creators there that brought that because not only is it good for just the footage you need, I was also able to say, here's my DJI mic, hand it to somebody and clip it onto them and interview them because I did that a couple of times as well. So that was really handy. But the one thing I liked about Cozy's setup was an Insta360. I was like, hey guys, like send it to me. I'll feature it in the video and I'll do a full review on it. And they just wanted me to look at their webcam. I'm like, dude, I'm going to CES. Let me check out your product.
Right.
Anyways, bygones be bygones. But he had the little magnetic 360S Go, I think is what it was called. That's pretty killer. I would love to have that next year.
Right.
Yeah.
But the newer one, I bought that one and literally, and I'm not kidding, 3 weeks later, the 4K version came out. 3 weeks later, and it's 2-week return policy. But 3 weeks later, the 4K version came out, and you can definitely tell. And Corey and we went back and forth about this. Like, I pixel peep like crazy. Like, I absolutely hate to see a variance in quality. Yeah. So, like, that 1440p, like, I did it on the first, 5 things I would, want to do next time. And I cringed watching the video. And other people probably aren't paying attention to it at all. But me personally, I'm like, oh my God, that looks like crap. That looks like crap. That looks like crap. But the 4K version came out, and I definitely want that or an 8K version of something next year for sure.
What'd you do for storage? Did you dump everything to like a drive every night, or?
Yeah. I just put everything on this with my laptop at night.
See,
and
I didn't bring anything, and I forgot.
Well, you came there with your memory cards full. So don't do that either, folks.
No.
Damn, playing this the night before.
It was my Insta360, the chess piece, right? I use that for basketball. So when I'm coaching basketball, I'll put on my hat backwards and I'll put that right here. And so when I'm coaching, I get a POV view of what I'm seeing. So when I go back and do film with the team, they can see my point of view. So we have the regular game film. But then I also do that point of view so I can say, they can see when I yelled at. Like when I yelled, and I'm like, what, blah, 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 blah. They see exactly what I see so that when I go back and film it for them, they can see like what I caught and what I was trying to explain to them. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it was full because I hadn't used it. That's really the only time that I use it. I don't barely use it in the studio at all. So when I got there, it had 114 gigabytes. I thought it was telling me I had 114 free of 128. I had 114 full of 128. And so that was the main difference. So we're like midway through second day and I'm like, man, we got to go back to the room. Well, first he gave me the option. He was like, we can go back to the room. And I was like, yeah, let's go back to the room. I want to empty this off and we can come back out. But he knew best. Like we weren't coming back out if we went back, man. Like it was such a hot,
Well, it's such a pain to like Uber back and then Uber back to the Airbnb and then Uber back to get to CES. It was like,
Yeah.
bro, like if we can make it work while we're here, let's do it. That's Cozy's hand.
That's the the webcam. I'm using an Osbot Tiny 2, so it's
Yeah,
starting to
that's why
follow
I
me.
said I didn't want to deal
It
with the
started to
point.
follow me around, so I wanted it to
Yeah.
stop.
But yeah, so that's man, CES, Carl, we're getting you to CES next year, man. It's worth the squeeze. Yeah. It's a good time.
I'm gonna have to figure out how to get around that place, but yeah, I definitely will talk about it for sure.
Now that we have some experience next year, like this year we had to go back to both locations, especially going back to the convention center, because day one was like, God, there's so much we could have done while we were there. We just didn't know better. But honestly, like we talked to another creator, he showed us his calendar. He didn't go on the showroom floor at all. He literally had meetings all day, every day with different brands.
I was wondering that. Like you guys, I mean, you know, we got a pretty small channel, right? So we're not like, I felt like, you know, do you set it up where you have just meetings after meetings after meetings, or are you in a situation where you just want to explore and enjoy yourself as a fan of tech? You know what I'm saying?
It's a good question. It's a real good question because it's really dependent on the person. Next year, I plan to probably do a little bit of half and half, where it's like I definitely want to have some private meetings because some of these private meetings, like especially the big companies, they have private meeting rooms where you go back and you meet with a rep and you get a hands-on experience with the product. And I would love to have that as opposed to just the general floor stuff. But then you miss some really cool stuff, and if you're not out on the floor, so it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah. I also think it comes into play as how niched your channel is.
Yeah.
Right. For instance, Bob is like it's PC components, motherboards, cases.
That's the creator that kind of gave us a heads up on his meetings.
And so like for him, you know, it's 100%, you know, like not 100%, but like 90-10 maybe of that's what he does. And so he met with those brands that he works with and new brands that he was meeting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Now, you know, Russ, you know, he pretty much said he was on the floor the whole time. He was exploring.
Yeah,
You know,
and he's a very large creator, and he actually had been flown out to MSI's headquarters to see the claws before they even got announced for CES. So like he didn't need to have the private meeting because he had already had those experiences and done a video on them. So he had the freedom to check out the floor. So I think over the course of this next year, we're about to really start seeing a different side of YouTube from a creator standpoint.
Agreed.
Because, well, one thing that's nice, Carl, when you go there, they just see green tag. They have no idea how big your channel is. So they treat everyone with a green tag like, oh, you could be a big creator because you have to have a certain level of following to even register as media. So, is that your watch again?
No.
But this is actually one of the, we were talking earlier about, you know, Cozy kind of rebranding to Cozy Tech Reviews. You want to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I noticed, so my LLC, right, Black Cousin, White Cousin, right, it's this thing that I've had for a long time because my family's interracial. It's extremely interracial, right? And so it used to be a joke growing up for us in our family that people didn't know that we were related, like from time to time, because the different sides of the family would be in a gathering together. And
damn. Carl don't want to hear about this.
Right.
Listen, I got my headphones on.
I always knew. No. People in the comments, Carl bolted when he started talking about interracial. No,
but Carl's had the last hour to do whatever he's doing right now.
Right, and just all of a sudden. But no, so my LLC, that's been my name for like 5 years, like regardless of like the stuff that I do. And it's because me and one of my cousins, Ryan, started it, right? And it was always a joke for him. He was in the military, and you know, he looks like you. And he would be in the military.
Hey,
like,
what do you mean, you people?
He's white. He's white.
You people.
What
do you mean, you people?
He's white. You people. He looks like you people. But so like when he was in the military, like he would talk about his upbringing, and people would make fun of it, like you don't know anything about that, and blah 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 blah. And so when he got back from military from Afghanistan, we originally started the LLC together. We were going to do a podcast and stuff like that, and we were going to talk about topics that go back and forth across those boundaries, right? And kind of living, you know, in an interracial family and stuff like that. There was a lot of conversation happening around that at the time. But at CES, they didn't put Cozy Christopher on my tag. They put my LLC on my tag. And I don't know why they did that. Like I didn't put that in there as like my, you know, username or anything like that. I don't know if it was because the way it's registered or whatever the case may be. So every booth, they would see Freaky Tech Reviews and they would be like, oh, you're a tech YouTuber. And then they would look at mine and be like,
yeah, it's like,
you know what I mean? And so I would have to explain it, right? And
the three
I was like,
words that they would look for, they didn't understand content creator because of the language barrier. So if you said
yep,
YouTuber or tech reviews and they could see the tech reviews on mine, they would immediately get excited. And so
yep.
anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were back in the room anyway, and I was already considering changing my name because refreshingly cozy Christopher is really hard for SEO and to find it. So I had before going there, I had changed it to Christopher Cozy, COZ. Cozy is my last name spelled differently, COSEY, and so I had already changed it. But when we got there, like it was even more apparent that they are literally the brands and the folks are literally searching for your YouTube channel by just keywords. And we're in recruiting,
Yeah.
so we understand keywords, right? And so just tech, YouTuber, gadgets, like they were looking for and like we stopped at Hover Air and she was like, what is your channel? She's like, is it tech? What do you cover? You know what I mean? And so it was like she wanted those same keywords, right? And so I would imagine that, that's the way people are finding us when they want that type of information. So, and the color was another thing. We talked about the color, like yellow in my thumbnails kind of washes out all the products, and it's kind of hard to see those products. And so my second favorite color outside of purple is aqua. I thought purple would be too dark, so aqua or teal, is my second favorite color, or variant of that. And so we kind of sat in the room, like I think it was like day 2, and we just went through like different gradients for backgrounds and stuff like that, and started playing with some thumbnails. And he kind of shared with me how he does his thumbnails. So I liked it. And, I'm quick to make decisions. I was like, yep, that's it. And I ran with it, and I just started replacing all my thumbnails, and I'm still doing it daily, just replacing one at a time with the new thumbnail style, channel style, banner style.
So cozy tech reviews.
Cozy tech reviews.
Cozy tech
yeah.
reviews.
I think it rolls off the tongue really nice too.
Yeah.
And the biggest things we talked about is like, I actually think it was when we spoke to these vendors, because of the language barrier, I actually think it was a really good representation of what a potential viewer goes through when they see your thumbnail, right? Because I was telling him, I was like, too much detail and things that blend in together and text that's hard to read. Like when you're scrolling on a video, first off, it's got to be enough to catch the eye, and then it has to be like discernible of what it is, and like the thumbnail and the title need to complement each other, but they also need to be able to stand alone so that each of them is interesting enough to click on, because some people read titles, some people look at thumbnails, and then some do both. And so keeping the thumbnails as simple as possible while still telling the story of the video. It's like we had this was one of the benefits of CES, is we kind of got to talk to other creators about this stuff, and I really, next time we go, want to network a little bit more, because we didn't get invited to any after hour events because we didn't know that they were happening. And so this next year we're going to network a lot more too. But it was really cool to be able to like think tank in person. Here's how we can kind of make this work and work on thumbnails, and here's what I do, what do you do type of stuff. And so I think your rebrand's going to kill it this year, man. I really do. I think like it is SEO optimized just based on your channel name now, which helps a bunch. There's no question when someone visits your page, what do you do?
What it's about.
Agreed. So hopefully it does well.
Yeah, hopefully it does well, because that'd be the first thing I'm paying for when when I can get rid of one of the 8 arms, as Marquez say, is thumbnails and titles for sure. Like I hate thinking about titles. I hate the thumbnail. Like I really enjoy talking about the product, going in depth about the product, but that whole packaging thing, I like, even the description. I hate all of it. I hate the links. I hate every single portion of that. And if I can, get rid of one of the arms, it'd be that. Like not necessarily the editing. Like I still enjoy editing. I enjoy, kind of thinking through like, what am I going to do this time, and how, the transitions and all that different stuff. But that titles, thumbnails, descriptions, man, you can have it. Like you can keep it.
It's funny because I'm that way about the editing. That's why I outsourced it this last year. And it was one of the better decisions that I made, because I got literally 50% of my time back, But your battle, all of our battle, is just like, if they don't click, it doesn't matter how good the video is,
Agreed.
So it's like that. It is important. It's just sometimes.
And I get that comment often, man. It's like, because I 56 to 60% of my traffic is search, right? And it's because they've searched and found like the topic that they're looking for. It's not because they browsed and saw it, right?
Oh, there you go. That's a great indicator.
What I mean? And so that was a good indicator. A lot of times they'll say like, I'm so glad that, I landed on your page. This video is great, man. Your channel should be larger, right? But they didn't like browse and and see the thumbnail, click it. and which is crazy because we talked about it. My CTR is still 6.5%.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's just
But my
your
impressions
impressions are really
super
low.
low.
Yeah,
Impressions are super low, so YouTube's not pushing it. So it could be because of the packaging.
actually, Carl, you have some of my favorite thumbnails ever because it's immediately recognizable that it's a Carl video. And
I specifically made that change, I think, last year and got it very uniform in the way that I do it. A, it makes it easier for me to make the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And then B, like I watch a lot of YouTube. That's like my primary thing. I watch YouTube.
Same.
I don't watch a lot of TV stuff, right? So, and I have some creators that I really like, and I'll be scrolling through, looking at stuff, and I'm fine with that. And I'll go to my subscriptions, and eventually I'll be like, let me click this, and I'll click it, and it's the dude I like. And I'm like, I had no clue that person. I would have completely passed up that video. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make it uniform. So it's always me, and it's the product, it's me, and a little bit of text. And one of the things, I don't remember if it was Marquez or someone did like a thumbnail thing where they said, okay, you should start in the top left, do something that draws the person's eye to the product, and then have kind of like a repeatable type of thing. So that's why I have kind of like my cartoon guy in the bottom right. And so I'm not saying it's, the best thumbnail, but it's something that works for me. It's repeatable, it's easy to do, and recognizable. And that's
I learned that from Mr. Beast, right? 3 elements, minimal text if you can, and like a picture, your face looking at the audience draws them in. Like scientifically proven that's the case. So I always have a picture of myself, always a picture of the product that's as clear as possible. And then I have some text that is just interesting, that's related to the theme of the video, whether it sucks, whether it's good or exciting or whatever it is, or cheap, whatever it is. That was my goal. And I think, Cozy, we had kind of scrolled through yours, and it was like, how do you tell like that it's a Cozy Tech review video? So that's why I think, dude, like I think 2025 is going to be a big year for all of us, because like we're starting to do things now as creators that like you can't really learn until you have your legs under you. And I feel like we have our legs under us, right? Like my goal this year is to hit 50K subs. I want to do it by the end of December, 50,000. If I hit that, I want to hit 100,000 next year.
That'd be crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But like, here's the thing, Carl, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but like the reason I have a lofty goal like that now is because CES was the first time I realized, oh, this can be a real thing. Like this can be a job, because normally I'm just a dude in a room creating videos, right? I don't understand the impact and scale that we have as creators. And even as tiny channels, when you start having these companies that are like, oh my God, like, let me talk to you, let me show you this. You're like, oh, okay. Like this feels different now. And every single booth is like that. Doesn't matter the company size.
It was a different experience.
Yeah. Cozy had a 30-minute conversation with some reps from Hisense about their portrait TVs,
S7 in canvas.
Yeah. And you start realizing, oh, they take content creators seriously at things like this. And so it just kind of changed my perspective of, oh, this is real now. And so now I'm like, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Agreed.
I had an interesting email in December. As a content creator, as a smaller channel, you think to yourself, oh, you're just getting random people looking at your stuff every once in a while, and you don't really have people that like your stuff. Maybe 1 or 2 people that constantly comment, and that's fine. But I had an email from this guy. I won't say his name or anything, but he sent me a picture of a custom shirt that his wife had made for my channel for him for Christmas as a gift.
Really, dude? You didn't tell us that. That's so cool.
No, we haven't talked, but it was like he sent me the picture and he's like, I hope I didn't break any trademarks or anything. It wasn't my stuff that he took. They made
send us a picture of that. I want to see it.
Yeah, dope, man. And it's pretty cool. And I was like, wow, someone actually enjoys. He said they watch all my stuff every time it comes out on their TV together as a family. I'm like,
that's freaking sweet,
dude. Yeah, I didn't realize people appreciated us as small creators like that, and that was a super cool.
Man, that's solid.
That's a cool dude. He's gonna get a tattoo of you on his leg. There's no doubt.
Yeah, all right. I'm not. Yeah.
I bet he watches this too. So shout out to whoever that is. I don't know if you want to give his name or not, but that's awesome.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah, no, I didn't get permission to give his name or show his email or anything. But anyway, I thought that was cool. I told my sons about it, and they were like, "Wow, that's awesome."
I want a Carl shirt.
Yeah, I got my shirt. He could have bought one of my merch items, but he made his own. But I don't
No, that's
I don't
still
put
cool.
the shirts up there. I actually wish that I could just give the designs out and people could print them, because I'm not trying to just sell merch.
Right.
I don't think I've ever sold a shirt. But the fact that someone likes my channel enough to go ahead and make a shirt for their own and wear it around, I was like, well, that's really cool.
That's the thing, man. Like the community you start building. Because one day I would like to expand on the community ideas, maybe through a Patreon, but only when I feel like I can provide enough value outside of my videos to make it actually worth it. Like I'm not going to waste anyone's time. But there's definitely, like, if you want to scale financially as a channel, like I've put almost every single dollar I've made back into this channel to keep it rolling. So I have lots of stuff and stuff like that, but it all goes towards making this channel grow. So
I have a separate bank account that I keep everything in just for the channel.
I did that this year because you told me about that earlier last year, and so I started a bank account this year for the channel only, and everything that goes into it goes right back to the channel. So like all of the
it's easier for tracking too, because we get taxes coming up. Yeah,
but
that's exactly what I do. When I use an airline credit card to buy purchases and then pay it off with my channel funds, only if I have that cash. That way I'm getting like miles out of it and stuff like that. I do. Well, I didn't pay for the Southwest flights because I already had those miles, but I've got Delta miles too. So, but but anyways, Carl, so like that was like, so I think when Cozy and I say that we're energized after CES, it's not just about innovation and seeing cool stuff. It's about like, this is the first time we were treated like creators. It was cool. Cause like we got some swag that other people don't get, like Ace Magic. I really want them to send me a PC. I really, really want them to. And they've been kind of like not friendly on email for the last year that I've been trying to get one. Cause they're like, oh, sorry, we don't have free samples. I'm like, listen, I put 15 hours of effort into a video. So for you to call it free is actually kind of disrespectful. But whenever we were there, they were super nice, like great to partner with. They went out into the little back room and came back with a little box that had like a little hand painted teacup inside of it that only was for like media people. And it was like, I can get used to this. Like, this is nice. Russ was right about kind of the rock star vibe.
You know, it's one thing that I took away from that specifically, is the way that I approach brands going forward. Because like you think about some of the smaller brands like Proto Arc and the way that they treated us at the booth versus like an Insta360. Like Insta360, we were very marginalized, like number of folks that came to the booth that they could pick, out of a hat who they wanted to partner with. Proto Arc, Basius, U Green, Ace Magic, Fuse Audio, like some of these brands were like so happy to speak with us and talk about their products and like get our input. Like it wasn't just like, here's our product, look at it, put it on your channel. It was more like, what else are you seeing in the market? Like one more audio, like, what other headphones have you reviewed? Like, what are your thoughts? Like what's important to you? Like if, when you're listening to headphones, what stands out to you? Basius, it was like, look at this 240 watt charger. Like, how would you use that? What would you change on this? The product managers would walk over to us and talk to us about the products and their process, like what we have coming out in the future. And, what did you travel with? What did you think about what you traveled with? Like, it was very detailed, like intimate questions around like what our experiences were and like what was important to us. It wasn't just put this out there. Like I've kind of felt through email sometimes they reach out and it's just like, put it on your channel. Get it out there and share it. But like in person, it was more of a put it on your channel, but we want to understand what are your thoughts. And so now when I communicate, I'm sharing more feedback. Like, hey, this is what I thought about it. This is the texture that, this is how I felt about the materials. This is how I felt about blah, blah, blah. And I think I'm going to do that a lot going forward because I do see the benefit in having a real relationship with brands that we care about. And there's always going to be that sometimes where they're going to reach out and just, your Canon, we talked about that in the past, your Canon fodder, like Insta360 felt like Canon fodder.
100%.
Like it was 100% like, we want you to put our stuff out there or, 3 videos. We're not paying you. Like we're Insta360, but some of these other brands were like you said, Ace Magic, like they went back to the room, Basius, same thing. Like they were so happy to speak with us and so respectful and courteous.
And one of the things that surprised me along that same line of thinking was that just because the name brand was popular doesn't mean they won't treat you that way. Because like in the same room that we had Basis and U Green, Anchor was there too. And like Anchor,
they were awesome.
They I don't have it with me, but they actually sent out, it's just in the other room. They sent out a charging brick that they were unveiling at CES. And they said, hey, we're going to send it out to you early. Because I reached out to them and said, hey, would love to have Anchor as a part of this video. And I need something to charge my devices while I'm walking around CES. And they said, this is great timing because we're releasing something at CES. We'll send it to you early so that you can show it in your video. It got here an hour after I left for the airport. So I didn't get to have it with me, but I got to talk to the engineer that created this brand new product for Anchor. He was so proud of it. And it changed my way of thinking, seeing from the brand perspective how proud they are of their products and how excited they were to show them to us. And I think sometimes we have guarded conversations because we don't want to get screwed. They don't want to get screwed. But it really allowed me to see things from the company's perspective. And I've got a lot of products that I'm sitting on right now that I need to review. And I'm like, okay, I feel a little bad about some of these because like these places have put their heart and soul into this stuff and they're not giant companies. I mean, even Anchor is actually not that big of a company. Right. They're just really well known. And so, and like Insta360 is actually not that big of a company, but they're also really well known, but they act like it. And so like you get that feeling, and it was kind of dependent on which room you were into. Like if you were in the less popular room that was cheaper booths, you got a lot more attention as a creator. So
because I mean there's a company that I'm about to work with, I think Earfun, and like they have 30 employees total.
Wow.
Total. But they have some really nice headphones. Like they have some really nice, I'm about to do some open ears for them. And so it's, when I saw that, and then I remember their booth, and I remember how proud they were of their booth, and different things like that. And to this point, like when we met the Anchor, the engineer for the charging dock that he has, like he walked us through it, like his decisions, like why he did what he did.
That's cool.
Like,
That's
he
really
walked
cool.
it, walked us around like the cable and like how the cable came out and why he made that lanyard style cable, and like, and it was just like super cool and unique to hear that perspective. And so it made me more charged up to like really in-depth look at products, right? Like, let me really understand the design elements, the persona they're designed for, why this would be good for some people, why it wouldn't be good for others, and things like that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to make our reviews better going forward. I really do.
Definitely, yeah. I was going to ask you, Chris, about the headphones you just reviewed. I've been looking for a good set of headphones that are specifically for when I'm editing my audio and my clips. I think that's one of my weakest things is audio across the board. And I noticed they had a wired version. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that eventually, or even if you think, like getting the wired version, because the Bluetooth bothers me sometimes. So having something that I can just plug in and it would be consistent, like would those be good for audio editing?
I can highly recommend those. You're talking about the Audio Technica Ath MX, the M20X BTs, right? And so those are the there's first of all, there's studio design headphones that have a very wide range of frequency. And so what makes that important is when you're editing, you can hear the small variants that you typically wouldn't hear in your average headphone, right? So you can hear that sound that is only over here on the right side, right? Or you can hear that's only over here in the left or center channel or whatever the case may be. And they're not, like I did a review on that right before that, which were the Kiwi Ear Divisions, which are supposed to be DJ monitoring headphones. They're still good, but they're a heavy, heavy bass. And so it doesn't matter what you're listening to, that you just hear that kind of deep bass to it. You know what I mean? Whereas those M20X BTs they're more flat, but they still have that really nice low end. So you're going to be able to listen to those when editing and hear all of the vocal things. You're going to hear that noise floor, because that's what we're looking for when we're editing. Is there a noise floor like that sound that comes at the bottom, right? That's called a noise floor. And you can hear that with those and how much that's going to be prevalent in your mix. But then you can still keep them on when you walk away from your desk and listen to music, watch TV, watch YouTube, etc., and still enjoy it. And so that's why I really like those. I just recently they were sitting right there. I took them upstairs to listen to them last night when I was gaming through my controller. But I recommend them. They're like $79.
And I think the wired ones were like $49.
Yeah, the wired ones are $49. I would say get the Bluetooth because just so you can have a variance. So you can take them with, because when you plug them in with the wire, you're going to get that full 5 to 32,000 hertz of frequency range for sounds. And then when you go to Bluetooth, it's back to the standard 20 hertz to 20,000 kilohertz. And so like that's the most that the ear can hear, as they say. But I would say, yeah, those are perfect if you want to get those, because I got those freaking, III Studio 2 wireless plus versions that I use for when I use headphones, and those Ath M20 XPTs were just as good. Not just as good, but that I don't think there's $300 worth of difference in them, is what I'm saying. I think I paid $399 for those because I wanted to have them. But I think they're solid for sure.
Well, I think that kind of hits our time limit. Carl, before we wrap up, I got your text about that dildo booth. It's motor bunny. So
he just wanted to say
I said,
it.
I said, send me the footage. Send me the footage ASAP. I need to see what's there.
Well, Cozy's got the most footage. He's got like gigabytes of that booth. So.
Yeah. Oh, is that the 114 already taken up on his camera?
Oh, yeah, sure it was.
Basketball footage.
Well, he was deleting all that basketball footage. He's like, I don't need that. Give me that dildo booth. Oh, we didn't even say the security thing, Cozy. Okay.
Wrap it up with that. Yeah, wrap it up with that.
Okay, real quick before we go. Every time we went through security, Cozy got pulled to check his bag. I would walk right through. I got picked like maybe twice, but every event you go into, you get pulled, you get randomly selected. Cozy was like a magnet for what's in your bag, dude. I don't know what you had on you, but every time they'd be checking his bag and there's
dreads. I had bag and dreads. No, go ahead.
But every time they would finish zipping up his bag, I'd say, "Hey, you didn't see his dildo in there?" And it would crack those security people up so much. And
90% of the time it was a woman.
And that had already been happening by the time that guy asked us that question. So that's why it caught us so off guard, because it was already a running joke that weekend.
Right. Yeah, like if I could blush, I would blush. Like every single time, like I would be walking away and there would be people in line behind us, and he would be like, "You didn't see his dildo, did you?" And he has Corey has a booming voice too, and like he told me his wife says he doesn't realize how loud he is sometimes because he has this booming voice, and like literally I would look back and everybody would be like. Like everybody's looking looking dead at me, and I'm like, dude.
And Carl, they never found his dildo.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where he had that thing.
It's too small.
All right, fellas. Well, this was a good time. We'll do this again soon for sure. Now
we got to start doing this like every 2 weeks. We got to stay on the schedule like that. I'm down.
Football's only over for you, Corey.
Yeah, Commanders are still in. I mean, I like the Cardinals, but the Commanders, since I'm near Washington,
since you're local,
it's a big thing here. Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna find that head referee's house, and I'm gonna throw eggs at it. Dude, Mahomes can't keep getting away with this stuff. It's ridiculous.
No, it's horrible. I can't watch it anymore.
That finally, it's not just complaining about the refs. Like that's legitimately bad officiating. So let's not. This podcast is about to go another 20 minutes. Let's stop here.
All right, yeah. Hit stop. Record. We'll talk offline.
Bye, everybody.
Stay cozy.
Yeah, later.